Hey, what the hell's going on, you guys? This is Stupid Player Negative AE, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. Last we left off, we were midway through an episode because the last episode was like the festival stuff. Also, I got some tips saying that I could press P to look at the old art. I don't know if I'm going to use it very often, but I'll do it every now and then just to see what is going on. So, yeah, let's go. I know this place now. This is where I live. My home. It's probably better if I just stay here instead of wandering around aimlessly. Someone would surely find me while I was enjoying the evening breeze. I heard a familiar voice. It was Tomitaki-san's. I headed towards it. How did it go, Tomitaki? Were you able to get some good shots? Yeah, fortunately. Tomitaki-san was with a girl. I felt a little like I was intruding. Kai? What was it, Keiichi-kun? Did you enjoy the festival? From the way she spoke, it seemed like she was a resident of Hinamizawa. I really should try harder to remember people's faces here. What was her name? Well, it was fun. My face was sort of given away how desperately I was trying to remember her name because she gave a light-hearted chuckle. It's probably because it hasn't been long since you moved here. It's pretty hard to believe seeing how friendly you've gotten with the other kids. That's how it looked. It was probably all thanks to Reina and Mion. Perhaps you feel more like a resident of Hinamizawa after taking part in the festival today? I wonder about that. Oh, that's not like you. I had tried to get used to Hinamizawa, but there were still plenty of things I didn't know. The faces of people I'd met, for example. Things that happened in the past as well. Oh, you're feeling left out because of something like that? Did I say that out loud? Something like that? No, it's not so much a feeling as feeling left out. I'm not sure how to say it. That incident at the damn construction site. The fighting over it and other conflicts. A terrible incident that they pretended they didn't even know about whenever I brought it up. Even though it was in the past, as someone living in Hinamizawa, it wasn't wrong to want to know about both the good and the bad that happened here. If it'll put you at ease, I'll tell you everything I know. Tomitaki-san's smile made me more relieved than I'd ever been. It was hard to think of what to ask when someone said ask me anything, though. Even when there was so much I wanted to ask. Then could you tell me about what happened when the dam was being constructed? There was a big incident where Hinamizawa was going to be submerged, right? I think the locals would be more knowledgeable about the dam than I am. Well, if you don't mind, I'll tell you what I know. It's only what I read in the newspaper, though. Tomitaki-san's eyes entered an unfocused gaze as he searched through his memory, and then he spoke. The decision to start the dam project was finalized 7 or 8 years ago. I heard it was the next major project after Kurobe? There were 3 major issues in Japan at that time. Improving inter-island transportation infrastructure, meeting the higher demand for electricity, and flood control. There was a boom of dam building due to the massive economic stimulus they provided on top of generating electricity and flood control. Hinamizawa had the right conditions to support dam construction, so it was singled out. The dam reservoir would have covered quite a lot of ground when it was completed. The entire area, right up to Yaguichi, way upstream, would be underwater. But why did they have to pick a populated area like Hinamizawa? Couldn't they have picked a place where nobody lived? I'm not really sure why, but I heard it was just the right terrain for building a dam. Of course, there are protests here in Hinamizawa. Rika-chan said that there was a battle. From that choice of words, I had to guess that things turned violent. There was a trial, and it was even brought up before the national diet. It was covered in the Tokyo newspapers, too. Ian told me about that as well. I'm sure every resident of Hinamizawa had united to fight together. The feeling of solidarity around here, which could not be expressed properly with mere words, was likely brought about by the battle. Interesting. As a result, bribery and scandals were brought to light. As things got more and more complicated, they eventually halted construction. If I wanted to know, now was my only chance to ask. It was certainly a bizarre incident that boys my age would be curious about. I felt a little shame from the fact that I was petty enough to have my curiosity piqued by Rena and Mion's refusal to talk about the event. But I figured I might as well ask since I had the chance. Just so I would stop thinking about it so much. So there was a dismemberment, right? There was. I had happened to be here in Hinamizawa at the time, so I remember it well. Tomitaki-san's answer was nonchalant in contrast to my hesitantly forced-out question. It was about this time 4 years ago. It was the day of the Watanagashi, if I recall correctly. Debate on whether to continue the construction or on the dam was in disarray. Scandal after scandal rocked the project near the end. The incident was the final nail in the coffin for the dam project. The fight at the dam construction site ended in a victim being murdered. Fearing prosecution, the 6 assailants divided the remains into 6 pieces and each hid 1. 5 of the 6 criminals turned themselves in out of guilt, but there was still 1 on the run. The right arm he'd hidden had yet to be found. The major details lined up with what was in the tablet I read earlier. It certainly was a tragic incident, but it wasn't so terrible that Rena and Mion needed to hide it from me. I guess they didn't want someone who just moved here to have a negative impression of Hinamizawa. I felt grateful for having friends who worried so much about me, as well as shame for still being so interested in it. It was near the end of all the trouble with the dam, you see. So everyone was saying it was Oyashiro-sama's curse. Oyashiro-sama was the name of the god at the shrine that held that festival today, if I recall correctly. Their guardian deity rained divine punishment down on the evil dam construction for trying to flood Hinamizawa. Apparently the younger ones didn't think so. But it seems the elderly in the village never doubted that it was Oyashiro-sama's curse. The woman with Tomitaki-san said with a mischievous chuckle. Tomitaki-san began laughing with her. It was so infectious that I ended up laughing. What the fuck? But I wonder about now. There are quite a few, I think, amongst the youth too. A few what? People who believe in Oyashiro-sama's curse? The woman's lips were still curled into a smile, but her expression turned stern. Then, after that, it continued every year. Around this time. Continued? What continued? Tomitaki-san paused for a second as if to build up some suspense. Then he whispered to me as if someone might have been listening. Every year on the day of the Watanagashi, somebody dies. What? The year of the dismemberment, on the day of the Watanagashi, a man from Hinamizawa who had supported the dam fell off a cliff overlooking some rapids and died while he was on vacation. Unfortunately for his wife, the body was never recovered. He supported the dam construction even though he lived in Hinamizawa. At the time, there were whispers amongst the elderly saying it was Oyashiro-sama's curse. The woman chuckled mischievously again. Then the next year, the night of the Watanagashi, Shrine Shinto priest died suddenly from an unknown illness. His wife drowned herself in the bog that night. The Shrine Shinto priest? You mean he was from the shrine here? Woman nodded. There was a rumor amongst villagers that they weren't able to quell Oyashiro-sama's anger. Then, the year after that, again on the night of the Watanagashi, they discovered the battered body of a local housewife. Housewife? Up until now, all these mysterious deaths were people involved with the dam who had connections with Oyashiro-sama. With that in mind, could the housewife have been involved in some way too? Exactly, the woman stated slyly. No, it was more menacingly. One of the victim's relatives, you see, was connected to the younger brother of the dam supporter who fell to his death 2 years before. I'm actually curious to see what they look like in the old art. Oh my god. That is crazy. Look at that change. They really HD'd the art up. Jesus. The younger brother is still alive, it seems, but it did bother him quite a bit, so he moved to the neighboring town. Damn. For a while, I stood there with my mouth agape. The battle over the dam construction with Hinamizawa's future at stake, and the murder at the center of it all. That was all I knew, and that was all I wanted to ask about. But that wasn't all there was to the story. Homicide, body disposal, accidental deaths, terminal illness, suicide, fatal beatings. I'm a pretty level-headed person. I don't really want to believe in curses. But the freakish deaths happened every year on the day of the Watanagashi, and all of them were related to the dam construction? It was easy to dismiss each of them as coincidences by themselves. You put them all together, dismissing them all as a coincidence would then defy logic. I don't believe in curses, but every single year, on the day of the Watanagashi, somebody or something makes it happen. Without fail. The woman chuckled again as she picked up on what I was thinking. It felt like she was saying, maybe there was. Maybe we frightened him. Stuff like that. I felt embarrassed at being read so easily. I pressed Tomitaki-san to continue with a bit of impatience and irritation in my tone. Then? Someone died the next year, right? Who was it that time? I wonder. Who do you think, Keiichi-kun? The hell? The way he said it didn't agree with me. The sarcastic tone ticked me off. Don't avoid the question, I'm serious here. Hey, calm down, Keiichi-kun. I realized when she tried to calm me down that I had been panicking. We aren't trying to avoid the question, Keiichi-kun. It's just, when you say the next year, that's today. She hesitated to say it. Tomitaki-san finished for her. I broke into a cold sweat. Really didn't like the direction this was headed. Nobody wants to speak of it, but they all think it's going to happen again tonight. The festival was so cheerful, though. The victim last year, the housewife, she was a non-believer. Turns out she didn't even attend the Watanagashi festival. There was a rumor going around that if you didn't participate in the festival, you would incur Oyashiro-sama's wrath. Didn't you hear anything about this, Keiichi-kun? Never even heard a whisper of that rumor. Then the reason everyone was at the festival was they were afraid of the curse? I figured that must have been the reason. There were a lot more people at the Watanagashi than usual. Guess everyone was just afraid after all. Of Oyashiro-sama's curse. Couldn't utter a single word. This modern age, we've made progress in all scientific fields, shedding light on the unknown and misunderstood. where black and white televisions have been eradicated and we've sent men to the moon. Even with all our accomplishments, this can exist in modern day society? Tons of invitations were sent out to neighboring towns' youth groups to help pad the numbers. But after that string of events, few decided to join. The municipal committee members were complaining about how hard it was to gather participants. So the police are treating each case as isolated. They don't believe they're connected. That seems a little bit illogical. They're trying to keep it quiet, so it's all plainclothes officers. It finally began to dawn on me why Rena and Mion were reluctant to talk. If nothing happened during this Watanagashi, everything would have been over with and I'd be none the wiser. If nothing happened, all would be well. In that case, it would all end up just being crazy talk. I should have just pretended like I knew nothing from the beginning. Then they wouldn't have had to act like nothing happened. We would have gone back to life as usual. Maybe it was just too much for him after all. The woman ran her fingers through her hair as she sighed. No, it wasn't. Not at all. I had tried to act strong. I had tried to act strong, but that it just served to emphasize how much the information had unsettled me. After seeing how I looked, Tomitaki-san appeared to regret saying anything. Letting out a sigh, he then spoke, forcing an awkward, upbeat demeanor. Kichi-kun, surely you don't believe in such things as curses. No. If the causes of all the crimes were unknown, with the perpetrators and their methods all mysteries, then I think it's the work of a curse. But that's not how things are in reality. The police are investigating the evidence and suspects to uncover the truth. Hearing him say police made me feel a lot better. It was perfect for repelling the word curse. What's it? The first one, the dismemberment, for example. I told you, didn't I? All but one of the perpetrators were arrested. It's only a matter of time before the last one. The motive turned out to have been an argument while intoxicated. That's no curse. Don't you agree? It was true. If it didn't happen on the day of the Watanagashi, then I wouldn't think it was related to the curse at all. The accidental death of the man who supported the dam is the same. He was in a position that made others hate him. The police made a point of investigating from that angle. They concluded it was an accident, not foul play. But they both happened on the day of the festival, right? Just think about it, Keiichi-kun. Do you think people with a lot of enemies here in Hinamizawa could participate easily in a local festival? It would be especially hard for them to be around during the Watanagashi. So they probably left Hinamizawa intentionally around this time of year to travel, don't you think? It wasn't a very clear explanation, but I sort of understood what Tomitaki-san was getting at. So I pressed on earnestly, asking more questions so that I could convince myself. Then, Tomitaki-san, what about the priest who died after that? The one with the unknown illness. That also happened on the day of the festival. It's even easier to explain what happened to the Shito priest. The Watanagashi is a really big event that happens once a year. It was probably from all the built-up stress. Or it might have been because of a pre-existing condition. But it was an unknown illness. It's hard to believe something with an unknown cause could exist with all our advances in medicine. It's just an exaggeration. Rumors making rumors. Anyone who would get worked up over having incidents happen 2 years in a row. The sudden death is quite unnatural, though. Of course, the police ordered an autopsy because of the strange way he died. But there wasn't enough for them to open up a full investigation, you know? Turns out it was just a sudden death due to illness. The priest's wife committed suicide, right? What about that? I believe I already explained that. Everyone was shaken up by the incidents happening for a third year. Those who are strong faith were quick to believe it was the work of the curse. Of course, that included the priest's wife. Apparently, they found a suicide note that said something like, "My death will quell Oyashiro-sama's anger." Well then, how about the next incident with the housewife? That happened on the day of the Watanagashi too. The perpetrator has already been caught and the case has been closed. Turns out it was just some nut job trying to continue the legacy of the Hinamizawa curse. Then how about the incident the next year? Oh yeah, this year is the next year. Tomitaki-san gave a hearty laugh. Nothing will happen. Not this year. There was never a curse to begin with. It's just that group of people believed it was the explanation for a string of coincidences. My internal computer finally got itself back on track. I felt a bit embarrassed about how childish I'd become after losing control and panicking. I can see very clearly now that Keiichi-kun really does love Hinamizawa. Even if Oyashiro-sama's curse actually did exist, Keiichi-kun couldn't bring himself to believe such a thing existed. I felt very relieved. I should probably just forget everything I heard tonight. I'll greet Rena and Mion tomorrow with the same smile as always. They probably also like tonight to end without incident so they can continue on tomorrow without having worried me. Perhaps seeing my change in attitude, the woman who had been listening in stretched as she got up from the rock she was sitting on. Well then, I should be getting back. Goodness. I think I may have gone on a bit too long. There were a few people compared to the crowd from before. I could only make out a few groups of families enjoying the cool evening air. Looked at my watch. It seemed like we had talked for the better part of an hour. Didn't you come along with your friends, Keiichi-kun? Not going to look for them? Oh yeah. They might all be looking for me. You're quite the scoundrel making the girls look for you. See you, Keiichi-kun. Have a nice night. You too, Jiru-san. See you a bit later. Tomitaki-san seems to be quite the scoundrel himself. So his name is Jiru. I'm 100% sure I'm not pronouncing that right. After dusting off her backside, she disappeared into the crowd of people still busy cleaning up the shrine grounds. Keiichi-kun. So sorry. In her place, Rena came running over. I could see all the others behind her. Speak of the devil. I'm real curious, guys. Ready? We're gonna hit the old art button. Oh my god, dude. Crazy. That's some crazy stuff, dude. My bad, Kei-chan. We got so caught up in our discussion. I'd completely forgotten about them while caught up in my own conversation, so we were even. My, so Tomitaki-san is with you. This works out perfectly. We need to settle the shooting gallery competition. That's right. So I guess I'm gonna end up dead last. Is that, I'm gonna let that go. But was that like foreshadowing? I hope if Tomitaki-san dies, I called it, okay guys? In the end, after my diplomatic victory, Rika-chan was the last challenger. But there weren't many targets left. The ones remaining were all tiny and difficult to hit. She did take her time to aim, but all 3 shots completely missed. She was to end up sharing the loser's crown with Tomitaki-san. However, she did her little mewing cry in front of the owner, and he turned to mush instantly. She was given a pack of gum as a consolation prize. Her methods were a bit audacious, but she did avoid being the loser rather magnificently. Come to think of it, Rika-chan is quite the trickster. I have no idea what Keiichi is talking about. Now then, it's decided that Tomitaki-san is dead last. Everyone cheered and applauded. Tomitaki-san smiled wryly, slightly bewildered. So, Tomitaki-san, are you ready? Penalty time. Oh, I completely forgot about that. You're too naive, Tomitaki-san. This is why our club can never lose. Mion pulled out a felt-tip marker from her pocket. Oh, it's that. Show him some mercy, Mion. At least use a washable marker. Permanent one is too harsh. It just has to be permanent. It comes off when you do the laundry anyway. Whoa, 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 what is this? Please take it easy on me. All of us pinned his arms behind his back, and Mion approached him with the marker in one hand. And script, script, script. But she didn't write it on Tomitaki-san's face. She wrote it on the shirt he was wearing. Oops. You better have your big break this year, Mion. Rena took up the marker next. Show me your photos next time, okay? Rena. It was a little heartwarming, and I just had to laugh. This is more like a well card than a penalty. Oh ho ho, I am not as soft as the rest. I'll make sure this is a proper penalty. Dead last, Satoko. Try harder next time, Rika. Here you go, Keiichi-san. I couldn't decide what to write, but based on what kind of penalty this was, it was probably the most appropriate. Come back and play again, Keiichi. Tomitaki-san was silent the entire time. At first he was quite bewildered, but now he had a different look on his face. So I have to wear this all the way back to Tokyo as part of the penalty? Of course, you'd better wear it all the way home. You could wear it when you come back. It would be nice. He appeared deeply moved. Embarrassment mixed with a wealth of other emotions inside, made him turn bright red. Understood. I'll wear this next time I come here. I promise. Everyone cheered and applauded. It was the finest parting gift possible for a buddy heading out tonight. I saw the woman who was with Tomitaki-san standing near the festival grounds. It seemed like Tomitaki-san had noticed her too and knew it was time to leave. Seems like your guest is waiting. Isn't it about time? Yeah, let's wait. Yeah, it certainly certainly how it seems. Tomitaki-san headed off towards her and seemed to apologize for making her wait. We all shouted stuff at Tomitaki-san. And each time we did, he looked back and waved his hand. Eventually, he faded into the darkness of the night, out of sight. It was quite the casual farewell. This wasn't the first time any of us had seen someone off. They had done the same thing many times before. He's gone. Well, it's about time we take off too. Rika-chan had to stay behind with the other committee members since they were having a meeting. Satoko was tagging along with her. I headed back home with the usual suspects. The walk back was quite lively, with the talk of the day's war stories. Should have done this, should have done that kind of stuff. Rena and I parted ways with Mion, and then it was just the two of us. Then I got to my house, and I parted ways with Rena as well. It's already pretty late. You alright by yourself? Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. It's close. I'm going to run, too. If you run into some weirdo, just yell. If someone does come, will you come and save me? Maybe? Maybe? If I hear you. Oh, okay. I'll scream loud enough so you can hear me. That doesn't sound like a good idea. Barely spinning her arms around at high speed, Rena dashed out. She was fine. In that mode, not even an adult could stand against her. Rena's cheerful presence disappeared, and it finally became quiet again. A curse that not a single person even whispered about. The more I learned about it tonight, the more unsettling it became. It didn't show on any of their faces, but they were probably all quite concerned about it as well. If nothing happens tonight, and then it all ends up just being crazy talk. Nothing will happen. Nothing bad. Nothing at all. The red flag right there. The death flag. What's wrong, Keiichi? Why are you standing in a place like that? Come inside, you'll catch a cold. Who is my mom? Did you go, Mom? To the Watanagashi festival? In the end, your father didn't wake up, so I missed it. A little disappointing. Mom stuck her tongue out with a bit of an embarrassed look on her face. Okay. Okay, Dad. You're gonna wake up, right? Okay. So we're at 30 minutes. You've received new tips. I think what we do is we read this new tip and we'll end the episode. Because I think that's a good plan. Because we're at 30 minutes, so let's view these new tips. Oh my god, there's 4 of them. Okay. From the June 1980 edition. On the afternoon of blank at 2 p.m., an office employee blank and his wife blank of Hinamizawa's village in Shishibone Prefecture disappeared after falling 27 meters from the observatory platform in Shirakawa Prefecture. Police and firefighters searched downstream and discovered the body of blank at around 7 p.m. that evening. His wife blank has yet to be found. The search has run into difficulties due to the effects of the Typhoon 3 from the previous day. It appeared a railing at the observatory that the blanks leaned on had broken, causing him to fall. The groundskeeping staff was questioned by the police in regards to the facility deterioration and if park maintenance was performed properly. Interesting. It was just all the deaths. From the June 1981 edition. On the afternoon of blank, around 10 p.m. in the blank district of Hinamizawa, in Shishibone Prefecture, the Shinto priest of the Furude Shrine passed away after an existing condition he was recovering from suddenly worsened. Parties close to the deceased said he was suffering from anxiety issues concerning the festival, which was to be held that day. Also, after Blank's death, his wife, Blank, went missing, leaving behind a farewell note. The police and local youth association continued that search. However, given the presence of the farewell message, and the fact that the Onegafuchi Marsh is said to be bottomless, they have run into difficulties. So they didn't find the body, and there was a note. Very interesting indeed. Wasn't reported in the newspaper. Wait, what? Housewife murder wasn't reported in the... Interesting. Radio log. Okay, so there's 4, but they're all really short. This is Okinomiya Station calling Unit 3. Unit 3, please respond. This is Unit 3, loud and clear. Backup is heading your way. Hold position until further instructions. Over. Roger, Unit 3 acknowledged. Requesting no headlights. Requesting radio silence. Station, the doctor has arrived. They want to carry it away. What's the order? Over. Acknowledged. Leave it to the doctor. Affirmative. Understood. Backup has arrived. Shouldn't we let them take the photo first? I think the Vic is done for. Those were really short. Alright, in order to avoid getting into the next story, we're going to go ahead and end this here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button. I really appreciate that. Also, subscribe if you're interested in doing so. I hope to see you guys in the next episode of this very soon. Peace out, you guys.